Let me ask you something bold. Have you been praying for financial breakthrough, but not planting the seed that God gave you? This message is for the woman who knows that you're called for more impact, more income, and more alignment with the purpose that God placed on the inside of you. See, each and every one of us, we are born with gifts and we are born with talents. And what you do with those gifts and those talents will determine what your future is going to look like. I've done over $100,000 within months online through digital products and digital marketing. And it didn't just happen because I was just throwing spaghetti at the wall. It happened because I took the very seed that God placed in my hands and I planted it. I planted it in a course, I planted it in a community, I planted it in multiple coaches that then went on to continue to serve me my education, my knowledge, and how I was going to water that seed that God gave me to plant. So many of you want that final breakthrough, that financial breakthrough, but you don't want to plant the seed. You might say, Stephanie, I've already planted the seed. I've already done this. I've already done that. It doesn't matter. It's all going to serve you in the end, but you need to keep going and you need to trust that the very thing that God placed on the inside of you will produce a harvest. Today, I want to dive into 5 powerful scriptures that have to do with money, that has to do with the Proverbs 31 woman. Okay. Number 1 is Proverbs 13:11. And it talks about dishonest money dwindling away. Have you ever noticed that when you get something, say you go and you put your money into a gambling machine, right? And you pull that lever and 777 pops up and you won and hit the jackpot. That money is going to dwindle away faster than if you were to have worked for that money, because there's something that comes along with when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something and you show up and you do the work versus something that you got for free. And I want you to hear me, because so many of you guys have been out there searching for freebies, searching for all of these things that you're trying to piecemeal together to get this strategy and to be successful, when true success comes when you pay a price. When you're anointed, it comes with a cost. When you're successful, it comes with a cost. Anything you do in life is going to cost you, whether it costs your time or whether it costs your money. And so Proverbs 13:11, it says that dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little is going to make it grow. Okay, so I want to talk to you about creating a digital product or creating a digital course. So many of you, and I was one of them for the first 6 months, invested into a digital marketing course that you then sell over and over again, but it wasn't your course. You didn't create it. Although that's great in the beginning, ultimately, you're making that creator rich. Ultimately, you're building their community and all of those clients, all of those email lists, all of that business you're giving to them. So now every day you have to show up and find new clients because you never took that seed and planted it in the right soil. Let me talk about that for just a moment, okay? When you plant your seed in the wrong soil, it can literally either be uprooted, the sun can come, scorch it, and kill that plant, right? Because it was not rooted and grounded into the right soil. But when you take that seed that God has given you and you plant it in the right soil and you begin to water that garden, you begin to give it nourishment, you begin to do all of the things like building a community, taking that seed and creating a course that you're passionate about, the very thing that God called and created you to do, to make impact, to take dominion, to walk with influence, to walk with authority, to dominate, to subdue, right? He placed that on the inside of you, but how are you going to do that if the very thing that he gave you, you planted in the wrong soil? Or maybe it was just for a season, and now that season has came and it's gone, and he's calling you to come up higher to another realm, right? It's not about overnight wealth. It's about building something that compounds, building something that's going to grow, that's going to serve you in the future, not just right now in the temporary. Okay. The next scripture I want to talk about is Ecclesiastes 11:2. And this talks about investing into multiple ventures, not just one. Let me tell you a story about when I invested into one venture and overnight that venture was uprooted from me. I had put all my eggs in one basket and I was promoting and doing all of the things. But then that thing that I put all of my eggs in one basket became irrelevant. I was then stuck with needing to scramble and trying to figure it out in order to generate revenue and income again. Let that not be the case. God clearly tells us to diversify our income and diversify our income into multiple streams. It says in Ecclesiastes, it says invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in 8. You don't know when disaster might come upon the land. You don't know when that venture is going to be uprooted. You don't know when social media is going to be shut down. You don't know when that creator might pack up ship and say, I don't want to do this anymore. You don't know, right? And so you need to be wise with what God has placed in your hands, and you need to make sure that your job isn't your only option, that that one thing that you invested in, that one course, isn't your only option, right? Courses are great because they produce a digital stream of income that's recession proof, right? It's time freeing, it's impact driven. And if you do it the right way and you create your own course, you build your own brand, now you can show up passionate because the very people that God has entrusted you to impact, the very people that God has called and created you to make an influence and an impact in their lives, you're now able to show up with passion, with joy, because it's your brand, right? Scripture number 3. I want to talk about Deuteronomy. And this specific scripture is dear to my heart. It's Deuteronomy 8:18, right? And it says, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to get wealth. You are not the one that created wealth. God holds the whole future in the palm of his hands. He holds the wealth of the nations in the palm of his hands. And at one moment of God's favor can literally twist and shift your entire life. It takes one moment of his favor. The word declares that he's not only the one that gives you the ability to get wealth, but it also says that he will give you favor with man and with God. So that means if you're walking in your divine purpose and you're not building somebody else's empire, if you're walking in your divine purpose, he's going to attract the right people to you, the right ones that he has called and formed and shaped and fashioned you to be the one to impact. You keep saying in your heart that you want to be the one that creates impact, that it's not all about the money, but what are you doing to build your community? What are you doing to build your course? What are you doing to put that seed in the right soil? Okay? Your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, They're not random, they're divine deposits. And he gave them to you to produce wealth, not to bury, not to hide, but to package, to multiply, and to serve others with it. There's another scripture in Matthew 25, and I believe it's verse 14. And it's the parable of the talents. And it says that he gave one of the servants 5 talents. To another he gave 2. And to another he gave 1. Each according to their ability. And when I used to read this scripture, it used to confound me. I didn't understand this scripture until later on in business, right? When he gave the person the 5 talents, he gave that person more because God knew that that servant was going to multiply what he gave him. You see, if you're not multiplying the seed that God gave you, if you're not being a good steward over the seed that God has already given you, you're not planting it in the right soil, you're not building your community, you're not multiplying it, why do you think that he's going to entrust you with more? You have to be a good steward over the seed that he's already given you so that he could then multiply it and multiply it and multiply it over and over again. Have you ever wondered why the master rewards the servants who multiplied what he gave them, and he literally rebukes the ones that went and hid the talent out of fear? Sis, you're multiplying wisdom. You're multiplying experience. You're multiplying everything that you've been pouring into yourself. All of the knowledge and all of the times and all of the research and all of the coaching and all of the things that you've already invested in, you're multiplying it. It's going into your spirit for a specific time that God is then going to pull it out of you when the seed is in the right soil. Maybe you haven't been successful because it wasn't planted in the right soil. Not that God can't trust you, not that you're not showing up and putting the work in, not that you're not worthy of multiplying that talent, but because it's not in the right soil. You see, it dawned on me a few months ago that I was literally making another creator rich. I was literally building their empire. I made 6 figures in a few months because God entrusted me to multiply that seed, and I multiplied it and multiplied it and multiplied it. And then I heard the still small voice that I needed to shift where my seed was planted. And it was now time to create my own brand, to create my own courses, to start bringing in the people that I would be able to impact. This is your sign to stop waiting for the perfect time. It's your time to plan. It's your time to build. It's your time to launch. And when you diligently build your course, your community, and you begin to water that seed, and you begin to speak to the audience that God has called and created for you to speak to, you're going to realize that you're going to step into a future of abundance. You're going to step into the very thing that God called and created and orchestrated before the foundations of the earth. What God has already placed in your hands, He's convicting you to stop moving in fear. Just because you invested one time does not mean you failed. It means that he's pruning you. It means that he's teaching you. It means that he's showing you that it needs to be placed in the right soil. And the right soil is you, not another creator. A right soil is what God has placed in your hands. Your blueprint, your fingerprints is different than everybody else's fingerprints. So why are you trying to do what everybody else is doing? You know, a trailblazer sets trends. A trendsetter literally goes against the grain and doesn't fit in with what everybody else is doing. When they zig, you zag. When they show up this way, you show up that way. When they're saying this and they're jumping on all the bandwagons of, oh, you need to buy this or, oh, you need to buy that. You know why I don't jump on bandwagons? Because my destiny is too great to be an echo of somebody else's voice. My destiny is too great, and the people that God has called me to impact is too great than to try to go and be somebody else's version, somebody else's knockoff. So when you understand that you're now sounding like somebody else and you're mimicking everything they're saying, it's time for you to shift. You are not called to be an echo. You have a voice that was predestined before the foundations of this earth to impact nations, and your voice will be carried to all the different states, all the different nations via sound wave, via the internet. But are you planting your seed in your garden? Are you planting your seed in your soil? If you're not, I challenge you today to take my free training that I just created that will literally light a fire on the inside of you. Strategic obedience, strategic plans, and being wise with the very thing that God called you to, not everybody else, not that person that has made 6 figures selling that course, not this person that has made 10 figures or whatever the case might be selling this AI chatbot. That's the new thing, is everybody's jumping on the bandwagons of buy this AI chatbot, buy this AI chatbot. You know why I didn't buy any of the AI chatbots? Because I'm building my own. Because my voice is different than everybody else's voice. You want to know why everybody's talking about magnetic messaging? Because I set that trend 3 months ago. You know why everybody's talking about these chatbots? Because somebody went before them and already set the trend. What trend are you going to set? What is different that you're going to create and bring to the marketplace that's going to make you a millionaire? You see, because wisdom isn't just knowing the right thing, it's doing it. This is your moment to move in faith. I want you to comment ready on this video if you want the information to the free training that I created that's literally going to teach you how to brand yourself, not brand me, not brand the next creator, but brand you and put that seed in the right soil. Comment ready below and I'll send it over to you.